In the 90s, Japan released some seriously cool cars. However, some of the most awesome cars to actually come out of Japan was in fact the Japanese K sports cars. And today, I'm super excited because we are out here at KM Imports and we are showcasing this little machine. This, guys, is none other than the 1993 Honda Beat, and I can't wait to experience just how this car is to drive. Honda Beat was a car that was released way back in 1991 during the same era as the Honda NSX. And a lot of people actually touted this car as the mini NSX just based off looks alone. However, underneath the skin of the Honda Beat is actually where more of the similarities lie. And it's actually super interesting because we're going to dive all into the details about the mechanics of this car and what makes it truly special. But having a look at this car, guys, it has to be the smallest thing I have ever seen on the planet. You guys would have known that I've done a Honda S660 review, and that's a modern day successor of the Honda Beat. And if you guys want to see a full in-depth review of how the S660 drives, be sure to click the link up here. So let's park the S660 aside, that is a full tongue twister, and let's focus on the original car that made it special, the Honda Beat. For those of you OG gamers out there, you might actually recognize this car from Gran Turismo way back in the day. This is that same car that was featured in that game, guys. But having a look at it, I honestly just can't believe how tiny this thing is in size. It's literally half the size of a Honda S2000, but still, it's a very sporty looking car. Just the way it's shaped, very angular and curvaceous, probably because it's designed by Pininfarina. And you're probably wondering as to why this car is just so small in sheer size. And that's because in Japan, there was a special regulation that these K cars fit under, which allowed for cheaper registration, reduced toll, thereby making it a whole lot more economical to own and drive out there in Japan, all while still being a lot more easy to maneuver around town. And for all of those things, these cars were an absolute hit. In the first year, they sold over 30,000 of these cars way back in 1991. And despite the fact that it's just so small, it still has the underpinnings of a fantastic driver's car. It's mid-engine, it's rear-wheel drive, it's a 5-speed manual transmission, it's lightweight, being only 760 kilograms, it's so low down to the ground, it's Spartan, it's basic. These are really just all the characteristics of what you would want in a sports car. And I can't believe that this little machine has all of those great aspects about it. I really can't wait to experience just how this car is to drive. I think it's going to be an absolute riot. And also, it revs out to 8,500 RPM. This thing is gonna be sick, guys. So just before we head off, I wanna say a huge thank you to our sponsor of the video, Fast & Finance. If you're looking to buy a Honda Beat or a Japanese classic, they can help you purchase virtually anything. With a panel of 30 lenders, you can finance whatever you want. So let's go for a drive, guys. All right, it is really tight in here. Nice and compact. Let's get the keys out for this Honda Beat. That is a whole lot of noise, and it's kind of unusual though because the noise is coming from behind your head. It's mid-engine. Wow, guys. This thing is a screamer. So on this Honda Beat, it actually revs out to 9,000 RPM. It's been electronically lifted. And that also means that the original 135 kilometer stop out isn't there anymore, so you can actually keep going. But it's going to be pretty hard to get to in a Honda Beat because, well, it only makes 64 horsepower, or in other words, 47 kilowatts of power. And it's actually only a 656cc engine. And in actual fact, it's also 3 cylinders, so it's a very tiny motor. Although not the fastest of cars, it's about momentum and how it feels as you're driving it. When it comes down to it, it's a mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, manual, low slung, lightweight, visceral, raw, convertible sports car. We're currently heading over to some twisty roads to really experience the Honda Beat. It's not about speed, and that's something that you'll always have to remember when it comes to these slower cars. It's no different to a Mazda MX-5. Those vehicles were about momentum, and it's about building the speed as you travel and glide through the corners. The Honda Beat is exactly the same formula. In bumper-to-bumper traffic, the Honda Beat is surprisingly an easy car to live with, and all the inputs are relatively light, and it's just a really ergonomic experience in here. Everything is exactly how you want it in a car. You know, the gear shift falls perfectly in line with your arms as you lay it on the armrest. The gear shift is that smooth, succinct Honda manual transmission that is just probably the best in the automotive industry. The steering wheel fits lovely in the fingertips. The cluster layout is crystal clear and right in front of you. And the tachometer is at the forefront of the driving experience. And it looks like it's just been fitted onto this steering column. And it's been lifted from one of their Honda motorcycles. The infotainment system in the Honda Beat is actually really high tech for a car that came out in 1991. And they've implemented it so flush into the center console. I really like that about it. And just above that, you've got the air conditioning unit that blows such cold AC. For a car of this size, I'm honestly quite impressed by it. The owner of this vehicle actually has this aftermarket reading light, which is really, really cute in this car, and I like that touch. It's just so cool to see it all fitted into such a small package. You know, cars these days just have so much technology thrown in the mix, you kind of forget about the whole driving experience. However, there is one thing to note about the Honda Beat, and that's the driving position of this car. And yes, I'm sitting in a very comfortable, low-down leather seat, and it feels really nice in this cockpit. However, the way that my feet are positioned, and my legs and the steering wheel, it's just not really the best. The steering wheel is actually hitting my right leg, and when I'm trying to engage the brake, it's actually blocking it from doing it in a natural way, especially when you're heeling and towing. It's a very difficult task, and you know, the pedals on the Honda Beat are so close together that if you've got big feet, you're gonna struggle even more so. You know, it's been a while that I've driven this car now, and I still can't get the hang of heeling and towing. And in fact, it's actually hurt my ankle a little bit because I'm trying to get it into that position where it feels natural for my legs. And it's not just me that's feeling this, it's just a common trait about the Honda Beat that's just not the best. So let's talk a little bit about the aesthetics of the Honda Beat. I really like this car in particular because it's a little bit more unique than the run-of-the-mill cars. And if you have a close look, the front end is actually fitted with an aftermarket front bumper. The rear end also has an aftermarket rear lip. The wheels are some Watanabes, and they really look a treat on this car, and complemented by all of those things, this Honda Beat has a hard top. Now, they were originally a soft top convertible, and you can see at the back here, it's just lowered into the rear parcel shelf. However, if you remove the hard top, you can put that soft top back onto this car, and if you want, on a hot summer's day, you can actually remove the whole thing completely, as a typical soft top convertible car is. And I really like the fact that you can have so many different driving styles. Now, in addition, with all of those parts, the Honda Beat is also driving on a set of aftermarket coilovers, and as you can see, the stance is so low down, and it really has an awesome presence as you're cruising along. And set out in this yellow colorway, it honestly breaks necks everywhere you go. Combined with the aesthetics that's been done to this Honda Beat, there's no other car quite like it on the street. You know, it's even the same yellow color as the DC2 Type R, as well as the EK9 Honda Civic Type R. Back of this thing, you've got an aftermarket catback exhaust, and it absolutely sounds glorious when you're on song. First gear. It's just so cool because in most of these Hondas, the noise of everything that's happening to the engine is at the front, but in this particular car, it's behind you. And that's something that I really can't get over. It's a real shame that the heeling and towing aspect of this car is very much so on the difficult side of things, and braking, you know, it just hurts my ankle, honestly. But if you can get away with those compromises, the Honda Beat is a fun little go-kart. If you're utilizing a Honda Beat as a daily driver, I wouldn't say it's a chore to be doing so. It's very easy to putt around town, the driving inputs are nice and light, and you won't struggle finding a car park at all. But there are definitely a few compromises. The cabin is very, very loud. The steering is a little bit on the heavier side, especially if you're traveling at low speeds. You know, if you're looking for practicality, I'd look elsewhere, and the trunk space of the Honda Beat is non-existent. There is literally no amount of space to put even a backpack. I normally do these car reviews with a huge camera bag, and I couldn't even fit my camera bag in this car. The only place that I could actually fit it is in the passenger seat, and if there's someone sitting with you, you're not gonna have much room at all. To pick up a Honda Beat nowadays, you're looking at spending around the 15 to 30 grand mark, depending on the kilometers and the overall condition of the car. And in this particular Honda Beat, we only have 42,000 kilometers on the clock. It is literally still brand new for a car that's 30 years old. I think it's really worth the money if you're looking for a fun little sports car. So if I had to choose between this, the S2000, and MX-5, I don't know, it really depends on what you're looking for. I think the MX-5 is a car that's a little bit more accessible to the daily driver. It's more comfortable, it's more malleable as a car, and it's definitely more practical. However, the S2000 is even more focused than the Honda Beat. It's a car that delivers performance without compromise, and it's definitely a lot more practical because of its sheer size. And I think if you're looking for downright performance, you can't go wrong with the Honda S2000. However, if you want something that's a little bit more of a daily driver, I wouldn't go past the S660, and there's a fair bit of grunt in that car, being that it's got a little turbocharged engine, and the level of customization and modification that you can have on the S660 is truly unrivaled. Often in cars in today's age, you have to be traveling at blindingly fast speeds to enjoy cars because they're just so refined and so capable. But when you wind back time and you jump into a Honda Beat that's 30 years old, at every single speed that you're cruising in, it makes it feel fast, and you're traveling at almost the limits of this car per se. And that's just something that is so unique about these older cars, and especially in one that's just so raw, lightweight, and visceral. I've had such a blast driving this car out here today, and I want to say a huge thank you to the guys over at KM Imports for allowing me to showcase this iconic 90s Japanese K car. If you guys enjoyed it, please smash that thumbs up button. In the comments below, tell me what you like about the Honda Beat, and as well as that, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Please take care. Bye for now.